10 million years ago, stepping into Antarctica would have felt like entering a completely different planet. There were no endless fields of ice, no blizzards, no frozen deserts stretching to the horizon. Instead, towering forests covered the land, dense jungles filled with massive trees, thick ferns and tangled vines stretched across the continent. Warm winds moved through the vegetation while rivers carved their way through swamps and wetlands. The air was humid. The ground was alive with insects, reptiles, and strange creatures moving through the undergrowth. But this prehistoric paradise was not peaceful, because hidden inside those forests were predators powerful enough to kill almost anything that wandered into their territory. Today, Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth, a lifeless continent buried beneath kilometers of ice. But millions of years ago, it was something very different. It was a jungle ecosystem filled with dangerous animals and prehistoric monsters fighting for survival. And stepping into that ancient world would have been one of the most terrifying experiences imaginable. Because in this forgotten Antarctica, danger was everywhere. To understand how Antarctica became a jungle full of monsters, we need to travel back nearly 100 million years to the late Cretaceous period. During this time, Earth was experiencing one of the warmest climates in its entire history. Global temperatures were dramatically higher than they are today. Ice caps did not exist. Sea levels were far higher, and warm oceans surrounded much of the planet. Antarctica was not isolated at the bottom of the world like it is today. Instead, it was connected to other continents through ancient landmasses, allowing animals to migrate freely across enormous distances. Warm ocean currents circulated around the region, keeping the climate surprisingly mild despite its location near the South Pole. Instead of ice, vast forests grew across the land. Conifer trees rose high above the canopy while giant ferns and flowering plants covered the jungle floor. These forests stretched for thousands of kilometers, creating one of the strangest ecosystems in prehistoric Earth. But wherever large ecosystems exist, predators always follow. And one of the most terrifying hunters to ever roam Antarctica was Cryolophosaurus. This powerful dinosaur lived nearly 190 million years ago during the early Jurassic period. It could grow over 7 meters long and stood as one of the top predators of its environment. Unlike many other dinosaurs, Cryolophosaurus had a strange crest across its head that looked almost like a frozen wave. But despite its unusual appearance, this animal was built for hunting. Its jaws were filled with sharp serrated teeth, capable of slicing through flesh. Its long legs allowed it to move quickly through forests and open terrain, and its powerful claws helped it grab struggling prey. If an animal was unlucky enough to cross paths with this predator, survival would have been extremely unlikely. But dinosaurs were not the only dangerous creatures living in Antarctica's ancient jungles. The rivers and swamps were home to massive reptiles related to modern crocodiles. These predators waited silently beneath the surface of murky water, only their eyes and nostrils breaking the surface as they watched animals approaching the riverbanks. The moment a creature stepped close to drink, the attack would come without warning. A violent explosion of water, jaws snapping shut with crushing force, and in seconds the victim would be dragged beneath the surface. For animals living in these jungles, even approaching a river meant risking a brutal death. But Antarctica's dangers did not end on land or in water. The skies above the forest were filled with giant flying reptiles known as pterosaurs. Among them were species related to pteranodon, creatures with wingspans that could stretch several meters across. These flying predators soared over rivers and coastlines, scanning the ground and water for prey. With sharp beaks and powerful wings, they dominated the skies above the jungle. Fish, small animals, and even young dinosaurs could easily become targets. In this ancient ecosystem, danger could come from the ground, the water, or the air, but the environment itself also created serious challenges. Even though Antarctica was warm, its position near the South Pole meant the continent experienced extremely unusual seasons. For several months each year, the sun barely set, bathing the land in continuous daylight. Then, for several months, darkness covered the continent almost completely. Entire ecosystems had to survive long polar nights with very little sunlight. Temperatures could drop dramatically during these periods. Food became scarce. Animals had to adapt in remarkable ways in order to survive. Some dinosaurs likely developed large eyes to see in low light. Others may have migrated long distances in search of food. And many species probably evolved thick feathers or insulation to survive colder seasons. Life in prehistoric Antarctica required constant adaptation. But while the jungles continued to thrive for millions of years, massive changes were slowly beginning to reshape the planet. Around 34 million years ago, Antarctica began drifting into the position it occupies today. This movement triggered one of the most dramatic climate shifts in Earth's history. Ocean currents reorganized around the continent. A powerful current known as the Antarctic Circumpolar Current began flowing completely around Antarctica. This current isolated the continent from warm tropical waters. Without those warm currents delivering heat, temperatures began dropping rapidly. Year after year, the climate grew colder. Forests started dying. The thick jungles that once covered the land slowly disappeared. Snow began accumulating across the continent, and ice started spreading across the landscape. As the environment changed, the ancient ecosystem collapsed. Plants that depended on warm climates vanished. Herbivores that relied on those plants disappeared soon after, and without prey to hunt, predators also went extinct. The once thriving jungle ecosystem filled with dinosaurs, reptiles, and flying predators slowly faded away. Glaciers expanded across the continent. Snow buried the forests, and Antarctica transformed into the frozen world we know today. Now it is the coldest, driest, and most inhospitable continent on Earth. But beneath kilometers of ice lie the buried remains of an ancient world, a world of towering forests and prehistoric monsters. A time when Antarctica was not a frozen wasteland, but a dangerous jungle filled with predators fighting for survival, a lost ecosystem hidden beneath the ice. A reminder that even the most lifeless places on Earth once held incredible life, and that millions of years ago, Antarctica was one of the most terrifying environments on the planet.